Hi everyone, so let's continue our journey and we will talk about more things on Swagger, like what all or more information you can expose in Swagger spec. जो Swagger spec हमने यहाँ expose किया हुआ है. अब यहाँ पे two APIs है. There can be more APIs. I'm just using simple demo here. Get, put, paste, delete जो भी आपको expose करना है. Let's say I will convert this into put and let's convert this into delete. I will add the path and all. So update and this is delete. What happened? Is not exposed. Let's import this, put and this delete and start this application in the watch mode. Okay, so these APIs are exposed, right? So we can just reload this thing. I can reload from here. Yeah, these more APIs are exposed, right? So what all other information you can expose through in the Swagger? Like these are the API tags, right? So on top of that, you can also specify. First, we need to get all the Swagger modules imported here. Swagger modules like, okay, go to the top. These are respective modules, right? API tag you can use now. And let's say these are the APIs like tasks. So NestJS Swagger will create a group task. And here at the controller level, what else you can add? So here, if I reload this again, this is task is group, right? And all the details are exposed here. So get, put, post. What are the HTTP status code that it is going to return? HTTP code dot. Let me import this first. I think HTTP status is the something which we need to import. Yeah, so this is get, right? So this would be okay. Status code 200 when the data is returned. And what else you can add globally, right? API bearer auth. If let's say these APIs are protected, you can just add this. So what changes are these are making when you just reload this? You can see there is authorize added here, right? Authorize means let's say your APIs are protected. You can pass the bearer token here. And you can also add more information like get hello HTTP status code. It is going to return this. I think there is API operation. And here you can actually explain the description. Okay, what it is going to. Okay, this is going to list all tasks. And if it is deprecated, there are flag attributes like if it is deprecated, mark it as a true. What else attribute we can specify here? We have title tags. I think tags it's already a part of. It's an array task. Or if this API is shared, right? Let's say we have this shared API on the users also. I'm not sure if it is this array. Okay, it's a string array. I reload this and you can see this is deprecated because I added a deprecated tag. And you can add other attributes like, okay, this is going to return what message, what all HTTP status code it is going to return. All those things you can add here. I can just, these are just a constant. Okay, this API can return internal server exception also, bad request also. So possible error codes, API OK operation, and because this API is returning status code 200, right? So we need to handle the what needs to be exposed, API OK response. अब आपका status code OK है. So when you are returning 200, then it will look for this possible message. Description और कोई particular type आप return कर रहे हो, so you can also specify that type. Type का मतलब है कि on Swagger UI you can also expose what kind of response payload looks like. अभी आप इसको ऐड करके दिखाता हूँ मैं. First of all, reload, and you can see 200 list all tasks, 400 parameter field validation, internal server exception. These are the status code you can expect from this API. You can also add summary, list all tasks. I mean, summary will just put this information on top of here. You can see here, list all tasks. So summary, you don't need to go inside the API to see what this API is doing. Okay, and type. What is the use of type? Let's say here, this is how you are creating tasks, right? So while listing down all the tasks, this is going to return something like this payload, right? So you can also define a custom type. आप custom type define कर सकते हो. अब मुझे, like let's say I'm a front-end developer. I really don't know what this API response will look like. तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? I can provide a simple example कि भाई ये API is going to return this kind of a JSON array of object. तो how we can do that? उसके लिए हमको यहाँ पे कस्टम DTO के अंदर रेस्पॉन्स टाइप क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा. ओके, तो लेट मी जस्ट चेक API रेस्पॉन्स प्रॉपर्टी. यहाँ पे हम क्रिएट इन्फो DTO, यहाँ पे हम क्रिएट कर सकते हैं एक्सपोर्ट क्लास लिस्ट टास्क रेस्पॉन्स DTO. अब इसके अंदर हमारे पास प्रॉपर्टीज़ क्या क्या होगी? टास्क आईडी, नो, these properties, task name description and this property. So we will be using API response property. ये टैग यूज होगा उसके अंदर. देखो आप देख सकते हो how many tags are there. These all are NestJS Swagger tags. API response property, API content response. तो आप टाइप स्पेसिफाई कर सकते हो. लेट्स से these are like I have a name. Name, and there is another attribute we are returning, name description, and there is one more is info. Info is custom, and here inside this you can actually specify example how this is going to look like. Info is actually array of objects. So this response DTO you can specify as an array. यहाँ पे आप example भी set कर सकते हो how this is look like. Example name, simple string name, example description, एंड ये आप स्वैगर कंट्रोलर के अंदर आप ऐड करोगे. ओके, लिस्ट ऑल दिस API ओके ऑपरेशन टाइप. अब टाइप दिस विल बी द एरे ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट्स. ठीक है, इफ यू सी दिस आई जस्ट कन्वर्टेड इनटू लाइक दिस. लेट्स सी हाउ इट विल चेंज द रेस्पॉन्स. यू कैन सी दिस. नाउ फ्रंट एंड डेवलपर विल बी मोर हैप्पी टू सी दिस थिंग बिकॉज ही विल नो व्हेन द स्टेटस कोड इज 200 you are going to return me this payload. Even if the status code is 400, you can also specify the exception format, but this is very helpful. Similarly, you can do for the post that when you are going to hit this thing, what kind of response you will be returning. आप टास्क क्रिएट करोगे इसके साथ तो वी कैन सेंड कि भाई ये ऑब्जेक्ट रिटर्न होगा आपके लिए. वी कैन कॉपी ऑल दीज थिंग्स. वी विल जस्ट चेंज द स्टेटस कोड. दिस इज फॉर पोस्ट. यहाँ पे स्टेटस कोड आप एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हो क्रिएटेड because it's a post, and API instead of operation API created response. ये चेंज करना पड़ेगा आपको. Because this response you will be returning when the status code is 201. Yeah. Create a task. और ये response के अंदर this will not be an array, this will be just an object. Reload this and you got it right. When the status code is 201, I'm going to give you this response code, this response payload. This is an object, not an array. And how we are doing it? We are just specifying this is an object type. तो ये एक swagger जो documentation आप करते हैं उसके अंदर आप you can make it very helpful for the front end developers. यहाँ पे summary में आप change कर सकते हैं create a new task. right? Just all these things, and whatever the status code you wanted to return, bad request, internal server exception, unprocessable entity exception, bad request, created exception, ये आप simply add करोगे in all the things, ठीक है? And you already know how we create DTOs. DTOs जो ऐसे बनाते हैं हम to define the payload, response, create body, query parameter, path parameter, सब इस DTO से handle होते हैं. अब यहाँ पे आप कंट्रोलर है, लेट्स से आई वांट टू पास द आईडी. अब इसके लिए भी आप बॉडी तो यूज होगा नहीं इसके अंदर बिकॉज यू आर डिलीटिंग इट, तो यहाँ पे यूज होगा पाथ पैरम, राइट? और पैरम एंड दिस इज क्रिएट टास्क डिलीट टास्क DTO by ID DTO param property and pipe we don't need, and we are using DTOs everywhere. Import this thing. Now you need to just use this. You need to create this DTO and you are passing ID. ठीक है, तो हम यहाँ पे जाएंगे. We can just create a simple class, export class, और इसके अंदर we are just passing ID. I think ID is of type UUID. This will be ID. ठीक है, and go to your controller, import this thing. अब यहाँ पे validation सब हो गया इसके अंदर. ID you cannot pass as a string, number, boolean. You should need to pass UUID only. I will reload this. Okay, delete. And this is taking UUID. Let's say if you are passing this, I mean it will take it, but you will get a 400 exception, right? Because ID must be UUID. You cannot pass just any random thing. So this is a strict validation you are adding. Same you can do on the put. Put will also have a body and ID both. So body के अंदर हम यहाँ कर सकते हैं put ID, and it will also contain body. I mean you can pass query parameter, path parameter, anything together. Nobody is stopping you that you cannot have these. So this is the path parameter. Now you can also have body because it's a put which will require a body also. And this task update create update task DTO. अब इसके अंदर एक कैच है. It doesn't mean that you need everything. Okay, so what you can do is create task DTO है, इससे ही आप नया टाइप क्रिएट कर सकते हो. Because update means you need the some part of parameters, not all. So create class update task DTO. I think this is what extend partial type of. I can check documentation if it doesn't work, but this is the new type I have created by just extending the create one. But it is not asking you to pass each and every parameter. यहाँ पे update task DTO पास कर दो and import it. That's it. अब ये क्या है, put call बन गई हमारी. ID should be of UUID and payload. All these things needs to be passed in payload. ये body हो गया. अब आपको पास करना है query parameter, path parameter. You can pass everything. अभी हमारी जरूरत है केवल path parameter and body. Now we can just see, right? This is also taking body UUID. So this is how Swagger can enrich your APIs, and this is what I was talking about. So that's it in this video, and next videos we will try to explore the guidelines, REST API standards, what all we can use, and how you can validate the different parameter. Currently we are just passing IDs. Let's say I'm passing a query parameter, some boolean, some string, some number. How we can transform it and how we can validate it correctly. That is also like how you need to create REST APIs properly. Of REST APIs, let's say you are building REST API for search, for filter, for pagination, and we are passing lots of argument in the query parameter, path parameter. So what is the standard way of validation, and what is the standard way of creating those kind of a filter APIs, search APIs, all those things we are going to take a look. That's also important video.